Okay, here we have a review of our heat engine. Our heat reservoir is at the top. It's at some temperature TH. Uh, it flows into a cold reservoir, which is at TC. Remember, TH is greater than TC. Heat flows out, goes into some working substance. That working substance does work. Some of that heat does not get converted into work and dumps into the cold reservoir. This is very abstract, but all heat engines can fit into this mold. So let's take a look at what a real example would look like. So here we go. This is what's called a Stirling engine. A Stirling engine is what's called an external combustion engine because down here I'm setting something on fire and I'm heating up this wall, and the wall is the diathermal wall. I have a gas in there, and that's my working substance. It's expanding, and then it's pushing on these pistons that are sliding back and forth, but the sliding back and forth is connected to a crankshaft. So that motion is then converted to rotational motion over here. So now, let's slow this down and take a look at it a little bit closer. So my heat comes in to the gas. It expands the gas. The gas is doing work on the piston, and then it's going to come over. It gets shoved over here. Where's it get shoved over here? Right there. And then over here, the heat comes out because you have this high surface area. Heat's dumped into the environment. Let me slow this down even more. Whoa. Right. So it resets so the starts right there. So we can go back a little bit probably. Frame. There we go. So my gas is now shoved all the way over here. It's got a smaller volume. Let's dump some heat into it. It's expanding and pushing against this piston and has shoved it down. Has turned this wheel. But over here, so let's keep going a little bit more. But now it's pushed this one as far as it can go. But now we're over here. This is beginning to drop down. The gas is still expanding. It's pushing a little bit on this side, but now it's getting over here to the cold side. So the heat's going to begin to dump out. And now I shove the rest of that hot air over here. When it's over here, the heat comes out. It begins to shrink, and we've reset. Now we're back to where we started. And the whole cycle, and the cycle begins again. This is a nice, simple, easy to construct. You can use air as your working substance. Not great, but it works pretty well. This is from animatedengines.com. And if you scroll up a little bit, you can see there's some interesting stuff about it. Well, let's go back to the main page because there's another interesting one I want to check out. There's a whole bunch of them here. Let's, where did it go? It was up here a little bit. There it is. The steam locomotive. Now, I have one of these in class, so we're going to look at this a little bit closer. But if hot air is coming in, and what side it gets pushed on this piston is determined by this little valve here. Let me get this out of the way so you can see it a little bit better. And so now the piston is getting pushed on both sides. So we'll play with this a little bit. In class, if you scroll down, you can see that you'll get a little bit more detail looking at it closer. Let's go back one more. And if you're interested, there's a whole bunch of them here. You can just play around with. This is some pretty neat stuff. And then these are your gasoline engines or your internal combustion engines, as the stuff inside of here is burning. You can check that out. This is at animatedengines.com, and we'll see you on Monday.